Hello my friends, Cardell68 here to talk to you about the top 10 things you should know when playing Dark Souls for the very first time. Dark Souls, the action RPG published by BANDAI NAMCO and From Software, is a franchise that has garnered praise from fans and critics alike, and one that has recently stolen my heart. This acclaimed game series is known for stunning cinematics, an intriguing and interaction-based storyline, immense character customization, and unique PvP as well as death. Lots and lots of death. One of the most recognizable tropes surrounding the franchise is how utterly difficult the game can be, and rightfully so. Unlike many modern games presented today, Dark Souls offers no official tutorial. No mind-numbing practice mode that must first be completed before the player can proceed, but instead thrusts the newly discovered hero into the world with nothing more than the bare essentials and the promise of potential victory. With such an ominous reputation, many casual gamers have shied away from the prospect of repeated death and failure at the hands of increasingly difficult foes. I myself have taken a moderate interest in the game in the past, but was discouraged after failing to defeat the Asylum Demon of Dark Souls 1. Yes, the very first boss. At the time, my entire weekend of binge gaming was cut short after my umpteenth attempt failed to eradicate the thorn in my side that was my inevitable death by butt stomp. Yes, now I know that I can actually run past the boss and come back later when I'm better equipped to be able to defeat him. Recently, I have overcome my complaining that the game is too hard and stepped back into the quest to link the fire with my insurmountable rage. Never one to give up, I decided to test my abilities once again with the third and final Dark Souls installment. Putting aside my fear, I vowed to defeat the game and all of its enemies despite being a Dark Souls virgin, as I refer to myself. Nearing the completion of the game, I have had to learn to adapt to many different situations, evolving myself, my playstyle, and my attitude in order to be victorious. Having participated in a decent amount of gameplay to this point, I feel that I can shed some light on the game for any newcomers to the series, so sit back, relax, and let me give you the top 10 things that you should know before playing Dark Souls for the very first time. Number 10. Leveling is completely player controlled. There is no animations, no user interface to announce that you've absorbed enough Dark Soul energy to increase your level. In fact, that is not even how leveling works in this game. Every time that you kill an enemy, you absorb that enemy's souls, which are collected and shown to you in a box in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Souls are experience as well as the in-game currency, and in some cases can even be used as a form of mana. Once sufficient souls have been collected, you then have the option to level up, but not just by going into your menu and selecting what attribute you would like to increase. In fact, you must first travel to the Firelink Shrine, a sort of home base for the NPCs that are going to help you along your quest. Located at a couple different locations in the shrine will be the Firekeeper. She is a female NPC that when spoken to will turn your souls into a source of nourishment that will fuel your leveling. When leveling, you are free to select any of the attributes that will reward you with anything from increased carrying capacity to a larger life bar and much more. Having a minimum level in certain areas will be required to wield certain weapons and cast spells if you're into that sort of thing. The leveling can be reactionary or calculated, but it is always 100% up to the player. When, where, and how you will do this is completely up to you. However, you must be careful not to waste your points in areas that provide no gain to your particular playstyle, for once you have selected those attributes, you cannot reverse that selection until a very specific location in the game, and that area can be a little bit hard to find, which leads me to my next point. Number 9. Exploration is rewarding, so do it. Side paths, quests, and even optional bosses abound within the series, and although are not required to complete the game, can provide clues, bonuses, and a playing experience that will only increase the enjoyment of the games themselves. Optional bosses reward large amounts of souls once defeated, and usually provide additional weapons or spells that can be acquired in no other way than to defeat that particular boss. Exploration can provide countless hours of fun for the player, but also has its drawbacks. Optional areas can be difficult and frustrating, challenging the player's resolve and at times causing them to question why they invested the time to complete them. But believe me, you want to complete them. Also be aware of hidden paths and secret nooks and crannies. Dark Souls is not going to give you some of the best loot in the game just because you want it. In fact, Dark Souls is not going to give you anything just because you want it. So be perceptive and take the time to investigate anything that seems intriguing or suspicious, because it might just be that last piece of gear that you need to upgrade your equipment to a godlike level that is hiding behind that illusionary wall. Number 8. Do not waste your time with intricate character customization. I really wanted to make my character's appearance match my own, and I had that very option in the game. A new player can spend hours in the character creation screen making the perfect specimen to act as their hero to link the fire, and that is all well and good, but for the majority of your game, your character is going to be clad in armor from head to toe. So most of the distinct character features that you invested so much time in getting exactly perfect, well, they're going to be covered up inevitably at some point. Also, when you die, and you will die, that perfect face and body will begin to decay, and over time, if not addressed in some way, you will eventually begin to look like a dried up prune anyway, so yeah. Number 7. Death is inevitable, but necessary to learn and progress. Death is universally a bad thing, and in Dark Souls it is not any different. Having worked your way through a particularly difficult level, slaying enemies like the stalwart badass that you are, and collecting amazing amounts of souls along the way can become frustrating when caught by that one single enemy who happens to get the upper hand and take your life from you. When that inevitable "you died" flashes onto your screen, a few things will happen. First, you just lost all, and I mean all, of those unspent souls that you earned from slaying countless enemies. Second, you will respawn but at the closest save point that you reached, and in the case of Dark Souls, those aren't just given to you, they have to be found, and they're called bonfires. Third, every slain enemy, excluding bosses and other specific enemies, will respawn exactly where they were originally. Sucky, I know, but there's good things about this as well. When you die and lose your souls, they are dropped in the approximate location in which you died, so you have the chance to recover those lost souls. You also have a pretty good understanding of the layout of the area that you are in, so getting back to your death location can be relatively easy. Now that all the enemies have returned, you can kill them again on your way back to your death site, and you can double the amount of souls that you got from the route that you initially took. However, be careful in this endeavor, for if you die again before recovering your souls, they'll be lost forever. Now, despite this seeming like a bad thing, it is really good for the player. Bosses in the game deploy diverse tactics and attack in varied ways, so dying to a boss the first time that you face them allows you the opportunity to walk back into that battle with more confidence because you know at least some of their tricks. Not to mention the fact that you are incentivized to kill bosses once you encounter them, because if you died on your first date, you now have the substantial pile of souls lost and afraid just waiting for you to recover them. Another great thing about this system is that games usually provide a save point or a bonfire relatively close to boss encounters and always at the start of a new area, so you really don't have to travel very far to retrace your steps to be able to recover from a wicked defeat. Thus, leading to my next point. Number 6. Combat is all about timing. There is a crazy amount of diverse enemies in the Dark Souls series. Each enemy has a distinct animation for each combat move that they perform, as well as a limited number of attacks that they can perform during any encounter. Each and every enemy has a weakness, as well as strengths that you need to consider. Some enemies are best killed swiftly, with decisive attacks that surprise and overwhelm them, while others require a little more finesse to defeat. Either way, timing plays an intricate role in combat. When to attack, when to block, when to heal, when to cast spells, all need to be done at different times in order to be successful, but do not get discouraged. As I already stated, every enemy has a weakness, and you are clearly no sucker chump. You will take the time to examine every enemy for that sweet window of opportunity to inflict that final fatal blow. Along with timing also comes control. Every Dark Souls player, no matter how experienced they are, at one point or another has fallen victim to the dreaded button-mashing spam that comes from the sheer panic of following a potentially fatal mistake. Honestly, there's no shame in spamming a button to get the hell out of dodge if that means the difference between victory or defeat. Just try not to make a habit out of it, because the game will eventually punish you for it repeatedly. Number 5. Do not be scared of doing a little farming. Facing a particularly hard boss or area that you just cannot seem to come out on top of? Are you getting your life snatched away in one hit by a powerful enemy, or perhaps becoming frustrated that you can never carry the proper gear needed to be successful without rolling like a fat tortoise being flipped on its back? Well, why not try a little farming? Now, I know that the diehard fans are going to scoff at this statement, but that's okay, for you're not a diehard fan yet. You are a Dark Souls virgin, still glistening with the undefiled potential radiating from your optimistic face. Do not be afraid to run through an area multiple times and kill everything in your path, collecting souls and loot along the way. Not only will this provide you with an increase in souls for you to be able to use to level up, but it will also afford you a great opportunity to explore areas that you may not have invested much time in before. You might find new alternate paths that simplify your life. You might discover new items that will assist you in your quest, or you might even stumble upon an NPC that is willing to join your cause and lend aid to you in your journey. Not to mention the fact that it also allows you time to hone your battle skills by practicing difficult moves such as the riposte, the parry, or the backstab, all of which are critical. Number 4. Being in Ember or human form is a good and a bad thing. Being in human or Ember form, depending on what game you're playing in the series, is achieved by consuming a specialty item found within the game. In this form, your appearance will alter slightly, and there will be a substantial increase in your life bar. You will be able to summon in aid for particularly hard areas or boss fights where another body would be helpful. But there is a catch to being in this form, however, as there usually is within the Dark Souls universe. As one viewer stated, there are no free lunches here. You can count on it. Being in this form also allows others to invade your world and try to defeat you as you continue along your quest. Invaders can be NPCs or other players wishing to feast upon your feeble virginity and laugh as they desecrate your experience with tactics unknown to you. Granted, defeating an NPC invader will always produce rewards, but defeating another player grants no real substantial benefit. Compounding the difficulty of this status even farther is the fact that once invaded, every single enemy will still be out for your blood, meaning that they will ignore the invader altogether, and it's an easy way to work yourself into a quick pickle. It is worth noting that items required to get into this form are also difficult to come by and therefore should be used with caution and be used sparingly. Speaking of invaders, it is possible for you to become a crusher of others' dreams by invading their worlds and defeating them in combat. Being an invader is a lot of fun, but it does require some practice to be able to do effectively, so play nicely. Number 3. Save co-op for your second playthrough. Okay, it is obviously way more fun to play a game with a friend, but with the Dark Souls series, I feel that that's especially true. Playing any Dark Souls game with someone who you enjoy spending time with, and even better if they are an experienced Souls veteran who can show you the ropes and accelerate you to badass mode in no time flat, is extremely enticing. In fact, one of the things that I love the most about the Dark Souls franchise is its devoted fan community that the series seems to command. And no doubt you know one of those fans that has been begging you to play the game for a long time. Summoning another more experienced player to assist you as you traverse the dangerous world in a co-op rampage can be enjoyable, but also increases the difficulty of every enemy and requires that you remain in human or Ember form, thus increasing the chances of you being invaded by another or even multiple enemies. By all means, play this game with others. It is totally awesome. But I implore you to complete the game by yourself before embarking on the journey that is co-op and or PvP. Completing the game by yourself affords a much greater sense of accomplishment than being directed every step of the way by someone else. Finding those hidden secrets and participating in side quests by yourself will connect you to any other Dark Souls fans as if you were twins separated at birth. Number 2. Read and leave messages. In fact, just read everything that you possibly can. Let's face it, Dark Souls is confusing. Items, game dynamics, fighting styles, and special moves are never really openly addressed in the game. As I said before, this game is not going to hold your hand and walk you through the gameplay. You will be left to figure much of that out for yourself. Luckily, the Dark Souls games do not completely hang you out to dry. Every single item has a description, which will lend aid to each player finding a utility for each item if they wish to use it. Every loading screen will have little hints and tips displayed for everyone to gaze upon, and not just strategically disguised hints that are kind of hidden on the page. No, they are in your face. You have to read them hints. So read those hints. The game even allows players to leave messages on the ground to assist any up-and-coming adventurers avoid potential mistakes, find hidden treasures, and prepare for new dynamics that will be faced ahead. Although sometimes messages can be left just to troll players. But I mean, honestly, that's the fun of it, right? Do I trust this random stranger who is telling me to drop off this ledge, or do I play it safe? Well, really, the choice is completely up to you. An added bonus to leaving messages is the rating system associated with them. If you encounter a particularly helpful or even funny message, you can give it a positive rating, and if that player is in-game at that moment, they will be rewarded with a substantial heal, meaning it is in your best interest to bust out your thinking cap and to start leaving some clever and witty messages, because getting a random heal from a positively rated message during a boss fight or an invasion is simply an amazing feeling. So, in short, just do it. Number 1, do not play this game frustrated, alright? I am not telling you not to get frustrated while playing a Dark Souls game, because that's unrealistic and impossible. But what I am saying is do not continue to play the game if you are on your umpteenth attempt at a boss and are ready to chuck your controller at the screen. Playing this game while completely enraged at the game will lead to rookie mistakes that you are way above, and it might also lead you to blame the game for your frustrations. Remember, this game is meant to test you, to see if you can overcome the odds and emerge from the dust victorious. Playing with intensity or competitiveness is a completely different story. Walking into a fight with a, come on, let's do this type of attitude can enhance your performance. But if you walk into a fight with, oh no, not this bullshit again, that's definitely going to lead to some misery. If you happen to find yourself in the unpleasant rage mode, then simply walk away from the game. Take 10, take 20, maybe a day, hell, even take a week if you need to. Utilize that time to calm yourself down. Analyze your previous fights and note the mistakes of you and your opponent. Find your inner dark warrior and return to the game ready to crush your enemy. Gaming should be fun, so make sure that you're doing everything that you can to enjoy it. I cannot tell you how many times I have simply had to walk away from an encounter only to return later and beat that encounter the very next time that I tried. So, keep that in mind. Anyway, those are my top 10 tips for any Dark Souls virgin out there. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. As always, I hope that you guys are having an absolutely fabulous day. Happy gaming. Cardell68 out. Oh, wait. Number 0 or 1/2 or whatever. Have a ample supply of caffeine ready for your gameplay. Just trust me on this one. Caffeine is important. Okay, now I'm done. I'm out.